judging by the vote, and leaving aside, with all due respect, but leaving aside the South Sea atolls, Palau, Nauru, Micronesia, and the Marshall Islands, the only obstacles to resolving the conflict are Israel backed by the United States. Now, a gentleman here to my right, I overheard him say, and I think he meant for me to overhear him say, he said anti-Semitism, which is to say, if I understand him, that all the countries in the world are anti-Semitic except Nauru and Palau. So, for argument's sake, let's entertain that proposition. So let's move from what was called the most representative body in the world, namely the United Nations General Assembly. Let's move to what's generally regarded as the most respected legal institution in the world today. Who would like to volunteer the most respected legal institution? The name would be... Who said that? Very good. You've redeemed your school. Yeah, the International Court of Justice, the ICJ. And as it happens, in 2004, the ICJ, the International Court of Justice, it rendered what's called in the technical literature an advisory opinion on one aspect of the Israel-Palestine conflict. I don't have time to go through the full breadth of the decision, of the opinion, but some aspects of it certainly should detain us or hold our attention. So the fellow to my left said that you account for this lopsided vote because the near totality of humanity, apart from the inhabitants of Nauru and Palau, are anti-Semitic. Well, in the case of the ICJ, the International Court of Justice, there are 15 members, and the 15 members are in many ways meant to be representative of different parts of our planet. Two of the members of the ICJ are Jewish. Rosalind Higgins, she's Jewish, but she married an Irishman, and Thomas Bergenthal, he was the American judge. He's Jewish, and he's also a survivor of the Nazi Holocaust. Well, as I said, the ICJ, they deliberated on many aspects of the conflict that are relevant to us today. So number one, well, let's start from the beginning. We're always told that the Israel-Palestine conflict is very complicated. This is a little tricky because we don't know if we're standing for Israel or Palestine. Actually, we're approaching common ground. So, okay, 1 second. I think you're going to be surprised. We may end up agreeing on more than you think. No, it may happen. So, no, I'm serious. Actually, I hope so, because I want to see the conflict end. So I hope so. And I think if we're reasonable, we're going to be surprised and we can find more that we agree on than you think. So, as you know, we're always told this Israel-Palestine conflict is very complicated, that these issues pertaining to the conflict are more complex than rocket science and particle physics. And the most complicated issues in the conflict are typically what are called the final status issues or the permanent status issues. Anybody in the audience want to redeem the school a second time by listing the final status issues? Anyone know? What's one of them?
Right of return.
Okay, refugees.
Jerusalem.
Borders.
Good legitimate security needs.
Good. And settlements. The four final status or permanent status issues are said to be refugees, borders, Jerusalem, and settlements. Now, as it happened, the International Court of Justice, it voted on 3 of the 4 of those issues. Number 1, they said, under international law, there's a fundamental principle: it's inadmissible to conquer territory or acquire territory by war. So they said Israel acquired the West Bank and Gaza in the course of a war, the June 1967 war. Israel has no title to the West Bank or Gaza because under international law, I'm quoting them now, it's inadmissible to acquire territory by war. Number 2, the International Court of Justice said, well, Israel acquired East Jerusalem in the course of a war. Under international law, it's inadmissible to acquire territory by war. Israel has no title to any of East Jerusalem. And the International Court of Justice said, the West Bank, Gaza, and East Jerusalem are the designated unit of self-determination for the Palestinians. They are occupied Palestinian territory. Number four, as the fellow correctly said, I think it was you, the 4th issue was settlements. And the International Court of Justice said, this is not a complicated issue. Under the 4th Geneva Convention, Article 49, it's inadmissible for an occupying power to transfer its population to occupied territory. Israel is the occupying power. It transferred its population to occupied territory, and therefore all the settlements are illegal under international law. Now, that's not really the end of the story, because the International Court, it has 15 very independently minded, very contentious judges. And it's very difficult, if you read a history of the court's decisions, to get them to agree on anything. But on these particular issues, which we're told are the most controversial, we're told are so complicated and intricate, on these issues, there wasn't one dissent